Good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock, but we're just going to wait a couple minutes just to make sure everyone is logged on, and then we'll get started. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So good morning, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for joining the State Water Resources Control Board's Water Quality Fee Stakeholder Meeting. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom and webcast, and it also is being recorded. My name is Cassandra White. I am the Fee and Revenue Branch Manager with the Division of Administrative Services. I'd also like to welcome you on behalf of David Ceccarelli, the Fee and Revenue Branch Chief, and John Russell, the Division of Administrative Services Deputy Director. Both of them are not able to be here today. Today, we also have several Fee and Revenue Branch teams working behind the scenes to help ensure the meeting runs smoothly and keep me on track. Joining me today from the Water Board's Fee and Revenue Branch to assist me with the presentation is Tracy Locke. If you experience any technical issues at any point during the meeting, please don't hesitate to contact us at the Fee Branch at waterboards.ca.gov, and the email will also be on the screen as well. I'm going to go over a few meeting guidelines. For those joining via Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature if you'd like to ask a question or provide a comment. Staff will enable your microphone in the order hands are raised. If you're participating through the webcast, you can submit your questions or comments by emailing us at the address displayed on the screen, which again is the Fee Branch at waterboards.ca.gov. When it's time to speak, please introduce yourself and who you represent. Please remember to refer to the handouts that were emailed to you prior to the meeting. If you didn't receive them, don't worry, we will be displaying them on the screen during the meeting. You can also request a copy after or access the documents on the Water Board's fee page. To help the meeting run smoothly and stay on schedule, we ask that participants limit their themselves to one question at a time. You have a follow-up or clarifying question. That's fine to your original question. Once your question has been fully answered, we'll move to the next person in the queue. If you have additional questions, you'll be returned to the queue in the order and then able to ask your next question in the order received. We value and respect all input. However, if the discussion begins to stray from the primary purpose of the meeting, which is to focus on water quality fees, I may ask you to continue the conversation offline. This will allow us to coordinate with the appropriate staff and ensure any concerns are properly addressed. We'll take a quick review of the agenda. So we are currently in the welcome and introduction. We will go over the waste discharge permit fund budget cost drivers, which includes BCPs. We'll take a look at some potential fee structure changes and updates. There's a period for open discussion and then next steps. And also we have a special item, an open discussion item, and it will be a water quality stakeholder-led discussion. And I wanted to mention, if you can go back, please, to the agenda. There was a note, I have a note for you for BCP 2B. In the original handout, the incorrect California Environmental Protection Agency BCP was attached. It has since been corrected, and the correct version is on our feed page, web page. But the correct one has been attached, the consolidated administration. And also I wanted to mention, just as it was last year in the March stakeholder meeting, we don't have all of the information available for this first stakeholder meeting, so we will just be presenting cost drivers, but we anticipate to have more information by the May revised meeting, and we will be presenting our traditional cost drivers in addition to fund conditions in that meeting when we have updated final revenue and expenditure data for fiscal year 24-25. Okay. So we will go ahead and move to our agenda item. It's the budget cost drivers. I'm going to hand it off to Tracy Lott. She's going to walk through the cost drivers.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, the first table shows fiscal year 25-26 fee setting budget of just under $196.9 million, followed by the governor's January proposed fee setting budget for fiscal year 26-27 at just under $195 million, which is a net decrease of nearly $2 million or 1%. The second table shows the primary cost drivers of the net difference shown in the top table. The first cost driver is state operations with an increase of about $1.59 million or 0.8%. This is primarily employee compensation, including salaries, healthcare, and retirement. The next cost drivers are the BCPs. There are 5 new BCPs for fiscal year 26-27. First is the Border Water Quality Protection Unit BCP. The cost is just over $1 million or 0.5%. Second is the Cal EPA Consolidated Administration BCP. This BCP is charged to multiple water board funds. The WDPF portion of this is $648,000 or 0.3%. Third is the Landfill Support Response and Enforcement BCP. The cost of this BCP is $463,000 or 0.2%. Fourth is the Permitting Impacts of Recent Supreme Court Decisions, SACIT. This BCP is nearly $2.6 million or 1.3%. And the fifth and final new BCP is the Recycled Water Program Needs BCP, that's Senate Bill 31. This BCP is split with the SDWA Drinking Water Fund. The WDPF portion is just over $1 million or 0.5%. And the last BCP item was an increase to the fiscal year 21-22 Shared Technology Refresh BCP spending authority in the amount of $7,000, a nominal percent increase of, 0.0%. The next two cost drivers are the budget adjustments as a result of the fiscal year 24-25 budget letter, specifically 24-20 and 24-24. The first is the section 4.05 government efficiencies reductions. This item is a decrease of nearly 4.3 million or 2.2%. The second is the section 4.12 vacancy savings and position elimination adjustment. This item is a decrease of 5.1 million or 2.6%. The final cost driver is pro rata with an increase of 174,000, which is a nominal percent increase of 0.1%. This concludes the cost driver detail supporting the overall WDPF decrease of nearly $2 million or 1%. Before we take any questions, Cassandra will provide more details on the BCPs.
Thank you, Tracy. Okay, we're going to look at a little more detailed information. So the first BCP was the Border Water Protection Unit. This was the State Water Resources Control Board. They requested ongoing funding from the Waste Discharge Permit Fund to support 4 permanent positions to establish the Border Water Quality Protection Unit at the San Diego Regional Water Quality Protection. At the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board to address cross-border pollution from Mexico and support the protection of human health, water quality, and beneficial uses associated with the Tijuana River and estuary and nearshore Pacific Ocean. The funding, as we already mentioned, was just a little over $1 million. And the next BCP is the Cal EPA Consolidated Administration. So the California Environmental Protection Agency, Cal EPA, requests 14 permanent positions and reimbursement authority in the amount of nearly 2.6 million from the motor vehicle account in 26-27 and ongoing to consolidate administrative activities to support an efficient and effective government and comply with Public Resources Code Section 71121 through 71126. Cal EPA's BDOs request an increase to their expenditure authority in the same amount of nearly 2.6 million, which would be proportionally split across various funds. So the water board's total portion is 1.6 million. The WDPF is one of 4 water board's funds, which the cost will be split to. The other 2 fee funds are Safe Drinking Water Account and the Water Rights Fund. And then the 4th fund is the Underground Storage Tank Cleanup Fund. The next BCP is the Landfill Support, Response, and Enforcement. The California Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Resources Recycling and Recovery, Department of Toxic Substance Control, and the State Water Resources Control Board requested 5.1 million and 12 permanent full-time positions from various funds, which includes also $1 million from local assistance program and ongoing contract dollars in the amount of 1.4 million to address subsurface elevated temperature, known as SET, events at Class 3 landfills. The water board's portion is $463,000. and it will support 2 permanent PYs from the land disposal program. The fourth BCP is permitting impacts of recent Supreme Court decision. The State Water Resources Control Board requested $2.6 million in fiscal year 26-27 and ongoing to support 12 permanent positions from the Waste Discharge Permit Fund to conduct essential water quality permitting enforcement work due to the 2023 U.S. Supreme Court decision in Sackett versus Environmental Protection Agency that reduces federal jurisdiction over several water bodies. The $2.6 million funding will support in the 12 positions. Approximately $1.1 million will be for 5 PYs in the water quality research program. $867,000 will be for 4 PYs in the waste discharge requirement program, and $650,000 will be to support 3 PYs in the stormwater program. And then the last BCP is a recycled water program need. This is a result of Senate Bill 31. The State Water Resources Control Board requests $1 million for ongoing permanent support of 4 positions from the Waste Discharge Permit Fund and the Safe Drinking Water Account, 2 permanent positions each to permit and oversee the new types of water recycling uses authorized by Chapter 736 statutes of 2025 Senate Bill. The State Water Board also requests $500,000 annually between the years of fiscal years of 26-27 through 28-29 from the Waste Discharge Permit Fund for 2 limited term positions. And those positions will be responsible for developing necessary updates to water recycling regulations. And that concludes all of the BCPs for the Waste Discharge Permit Fund. And now we will open it up for questions. Bob, good morning.
Good morning, Cassandra and everybody else. With regard to the final 2 BCPs, the SCOTUS and Sackett and the recycled water, I will again, on behalf of our numerous and diverse client list, object to including statewide general fund expenditures on the backs of ratepayers. I've made this clear recently in conversations with the board members, Resources Secretary Wade Crowfoot, and a number of other people. I will work with, and have already started working with the numerous state agencies for a joint education effort for our 120 legislators, so they remember that the water board is not, and I hate this term of art, fee-based. It should have multiple sustainable revenue sources. And I urge everyone else on this call to join in that effort and remind the legislators when they pass these laws, they need to include funding sources. That's the brief version. I have a question, Cassandra, about the Sackett BCP, because unspoken assumptions are fatal. This BCP is in addition to the FY 24-25 BCP. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It is 12 positions that were in the original fiscal year 24-25 and that were removed to a later fiscal year.
Yeah, that's what I assumed, and that's what I read in the LAO report, which, by the way, I again urge you all to read. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your comments. Noel?
Thanks, Cassandra. I want to follow up on Bob's point. I had the same sort of response when reading all of the BCPs and the cost drivers. And I don't know if you'll be able to answer this question, but I'm wondering if you can provide any nexus between the Border Water Quality Protection Unit and the WDPF. I mean, I completely understand the urgency and the importance of dealing with the border water quality issue, but I don't understand how it has any connection to WDR permit holders.
I cannot, but I'm not sure if Phil Prater is on the line. Can you provide any additional information?
Hi, Cassandra. I'm trying to enable, I don't know if you can see me or hear me. Okay, am I online? Yeah, okay, thanks.
I can hear you.
Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
That's a good question, Noel. Thanks for asking. I don't have a great answer for you at the moment. I'm going to need to probably dig into this and get back to it. My assumption is that this is the issue that we were just discussing, where there are only so many ways to fund a program and we need to maintain this program. So we attach it to the WDPF and try and spread it out as equitably as we can. But I do appreciate the concern. It's a tough nexus to make.
Okay, thanks.
I believe next is Sharon.
Good morning. Thank you. Sharon Green with Los Angeles County Sanitation Districts. I also just had a couple of questions. I guess the main thing I was wondering about whether you're able to speak to at all at this point in time is how the amounts for these BCPs would be spread over the different categories. I know often with the handout you have, other pages, then, it's still early, so that's probably why you don't have the additional, handouts with the tables that kind of break it down by the different fee types. But I think, some of these are more impacting one type of discharge than another, and others are kind of, admin, like the Cal EPA consolidated admin type thing. But can you speak to that at all? Like where you guys kind of see how that might play out? Or
Are you
would these all be across the
asking-
board?
Well, generally, BC cost is related to positions that are involved. So I'm not sure if that's what you're looking
Well,
for, and then obviously what the BCP is related to will
Right, that's
determine, the specific program.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the recycled water one's quite narrow. There was a surcharge added last year, which is a little more complicated than that, but it kind of affects, I'm trying to remember now. I think it affects, it has three types. There are three types of permits for different water recycling projects. I don't know whether you're trying to just add that BCP to just the water recycling permit fee payers, or
It
whether,
would be,
excuse me?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I have found you've been breaking up a little bit, so that was happening just now, so I couldn't tell what you were trying to say. But that's my question. And for that
Okay,
one and the landfill one, I think is also kind of obvious that it's a little more narrow than, maybe some of these other ones. So those two in particular were the ones of interest.
I know originally when cycle came on, the cost is spread between WDR and the MTDS wastewater. And not just solely to the recycled water program itself.
Okay, thank
I
you.
hope that answers your question somewhat. Okay, thank you. Michelle?
Thanks, Cassandra. Michelle Derry from the County of San Bernardino Department of Public Works and Flood Control District, which includes Flood Control District. And my question is, and I apologize if you sent some information out where I could have reviewed some of these BCPs. But I didn't see an email. So I appreciate you clarifying what they are. I'm kind of honing in on the permitting impacts of recent Supreme Court decisions, the amount. And I was wondering if you could provide a little bit more detail on what those costs are going to be used for, what the funds are going to be used for exactly. Is it positions, or you mentioned enforcement?
Cassandra, this is Phil Crater. I can help with that one, but I'm wondering if to aid in the discussion, do you have handy while I go through this a summary of the
I think
positions that are in the BCP?
I think Cassandra might have frozen, but we're going to try to pull up that BCP and
Okay.
for
Well,
you
while
on
we're
the
doing
link
that,
here.
the question, I think I just want to make sure I'm repeating the question back, was a question about what the work would be anticipated for the staff and the other resources that are requested in the phase 2 BCP for Sackett. Am I capturing that correctly? I'm sorry, I didn't catch you ask the question. I just want to make sure I'm answering the
Oh,
correct question.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that, please?
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding the question properly. What I heard is a request to discuss in a little more detail what work would be done with the positions and the funding that is requested in the Sackett BCP. Is that
Correct.
accurate? Okay.
Yes.
So if we could scroll down in the BCP a little bit, and keep going. Sorry, guys, we're doing this in real time here. Okay. Keep going. Okay, stop. Scroll up a little bit. I'm looking for the discussions with the numbers of staff a little further up.
I think I saw 12, right?
Yeah.
There was a
So
table there?
well, just while we're doing this, there we go. Stop there. This was a position request. There was the initial BCP had a number of positions in it that were deferred to a phase 2 BCP. So the work was bifurcated, and we were authorized 24 positions in phase 1, and we were instructed to come back and follow up on the phase 2 BCP concurrent with the review of the Sackett legislative report. And so that's what's happened now. The report's been submitted. We've outlined what we believe the impacts are to date. And this is an effort to sort of backstop and fill in some gaps that would result from the curtailing federal authorities. And so the first thing on here, increased workload from issuing WDRs where Clean Water Act Section 401 certifications were previously issued. We have made our best effort to rely on the federal certification because the federal certification, as opposed to a state waste discharge requirement, is more streamlined in its administration. And we also have the opportunity to rely on our federal partners for things like delineations and jurisdictional determinations. And so that's been a great program for us. We really enjoyed working with our partners. However, in response to Sackett, a number of waters that used to be federal are no longer federal. And so in those cases, the federal administration will not assert permitting authority over that. And we need to use our state WDRs. And so we need to have staff on hand to evaluate the applications and issue those waste discharge requirements. And the first ask in here is for 4 positions to do that work, which is to make sure that when a permit is required to do activity and it's in a water that is no longer federal, that we've got staff on hand and available to issue the waste discharge requirements so we don't become a bottleneck in that permitting activity. And I'll be happy to take questions at any point, either while I'm speaking or at the end, but I'm ready to scroll down to the next one. Thank you.
The 12
Yes.
positions, how many are coming to Southern California?
There's
Do you
a
know?
breakdown that we can look at in a minute that shows what regions the positions are intended to go to. I don't have that
Okay.
offhand. The next number on here, permit development. So this is waste discharge requirements equivalent to industrial and construction stormwater NPDES permits. We have a vast number of enrollees in these 2 general stormwater permits. The NPDES permits for construction stormwater and for industrial stormwater. And the permits differ a little bit in their nature. The construction general permit has generally tens of thousands of enrollees in it. The projects are transient, so they apply for coverage when they initiate construction, and when they've completed the activities that they're required to do in the permit, they file for closure and they move on to the next project. Whereas industrial facilities they tend to be a permanent facility, so we know where the activity is occurring, and they would apply for coverage. What we're anticipating is that in both of these sectors, there will be some waters that were previously federal that are no longer federal, and thus our NPDES general permits that we've developed won't work for coverage. We need to have some sort of a surrogate. And so we are allocating 3 PY here through the BCP to look at developing state versions of the general permits that we've used for construction and industrial stormwater. If we can move on to the next one. The next chunk on here, 5 PY, is a group of positions that are intended to assist us with enforcement activities. We've relied heavily on coordination in the past with our federal partners for enforcement of basically discharges without a permit or discharges that violate permit conditions. And without our federal partners, we're going to need to stand that up on our own. So this is 5 PY that would move to our Office of Enforcement, and they're going to be basically doing the whole process here. So this starts with a field presence. We don't know, and the reason I talked about the difference between the statewide construction and the industrial stormwater permits is for the construction stormwater permit. We don't know where a project is going to be located until we're contacted by an applicant and they request a coverage under the permit. And so there are questions that have been raised as we move away from the federal permitting regime here as to whether dischargers will be aware of the requirement to file for coverage and whether they are in fact filing for coverage. And because we don't know where those are, we don't really have any way to verify that other than boots on the ground. We have seen a somewhat increased number of calls with complaints or concerns about water quality. So we need to get people out there and determine whether or not permits are needed. And then if they are needed or if a discharge has occurred, that moves into a potential enforcement action. And so this is basically meant to staff that up. This is the group that can do the surveillance and then also follow up. And that's 5 positions. And I think that's the end of the positions. And so here, if we scroll down, we'll find a breakdown of where these positions will be located, I believe. Cassandra, tell me if I'm looking for something that doesn't exist in here, but I thought we had a summary of where the regions or where the allocations would go for the regions. I don't see it. I apologize. I don't have that offhand, but it's a mix of PY coming to state board to work on general permitting, moving to our Office of Enforcement, and then I believe some of these positions are also allocated to regions to be permitting activities for them. And I will follow up with Cassandra with that breakdown.
Can I ask you if these new positions are going to be funded with increased fees to local government?
The positions will be, we will need to adjust the fee structure to account for those positions. That's correct.
And we'll be talking about the water quality fee structure in this agenda, correct?
Yes, I mean, basically we're explaining what the positions are here and what the total amount is. These positions for the SACIT BCP are covered through the WDPF. And so this would be spread out to permittees who are applying for these permits.
Okay, that would be.
We will not be diving into the actual fee structure in this meeting. We're just kind of going over the cost drivers for this particular meeting. We will hopefully for the June stakeholder meeting dive a little more into the fund condition, which will allow us to know what exact fee increase, if any, will be needed moving forward. But right now, this is just preliminary data. We don't have final numbers of the revenue and expenditures, so we can't determine what a fee increase will be. But like Phil said, yes, whenever there is a significant increase or a BC because of BCP, the expenditures, there's a possibility that there can be a fee increase for that
Okay.
particular program.
Okay. So as a local government, local government staff member, I guess you could say, and also working on budgets like everybody else, I can tell you that the local budgets are constricting and the federal government is constricting. And I know that times are tough right now. But I ask that you consider the fact that increasing your fees to pay for additional staff that even local government can't afford to staff up is a burden to local governments right now, especially with especially with climate change. And this is why in the last meeting I requested and we sent in a letter about tearing off public safety projects, tearing off a separate fee structure for public safety projects. We are reducing in budget. We are reducing in staff. Many local governments, I don't know the count, are doing the same. And then and I understand I'd love to increase staffing too, but passing that cost down to government agencies that are struggling with fires. We've had 150,000 acres burned in that's just a general estimate. That's not even the complete accurate estimate for our county. We're dealing with mud and debris, millions of dollars in emergency work, and we cannot increase our own positions. And we ask that the state take that into consideration when they're asking to increase. And I'm not saying you don't have good reasons for increasing, but if we can't do it and our budget is reducing, we ask that the water board consider this before they pass the cost down to local government. Thank you.
And I do want to respond to that, Cassandra, if that's okay. First of all, I want to acknowledge the concern. We're very aware of the constriction and funding for state and local governments, and we're very concerned about that. And it's a tough balance for us because on the one hand, we want to make sure that we have, affordable fees and that we're supporting the governor's initiatives on affordability. And on the other hand, we need to make sure that we've got a program that's established where we can respond to applications and, approve important projects in a reasonable time frame so that we're not a bottleneck. So a couple things that we're doing that I think are responsive to your concern in general. And I guess before I talk about what we're doing, I just need to say again, and I think you're aware of this, but this is a zero-sum game for us. And so when we are directed to fund or to maintain these programs and we're given positions for them, we do need to figure out how to fund them. We don't use general fund. And so for us, for this program, it does tend to be fee-based. The fees are paid by applicants when they file for the permits, and there are application fees and annual fees. And one of the things that we're currently doing, it's kind of two efforts that I want to flag that we're doing that I think are responsive to your concern is one, we are really leaning into efforts to utilize general permits and to streamline the permit enrollment and administration to reduce costs both to the applicants but also to water board staff so that we can keep our fees as reasonable as possible with the fact that we still do need to account for and cover our costs. The second thing that we're doing that I think is important also is that we are internally right now in preparation for the coming fee meetings. We're looking at our fee structure that we use in the waste discharge program that I work in, and we're trying to align, or we're looking at proposals to more carefully align the fees with where the costs are incurred. And it's a delicate balance because you pull a string in one place and it affects something elsewhere. But we're really taking a careful look at this, and we're hoping that when we come out with our proposal to the stakeholders this year, that it'll generate some really good discussion and that you will see that we're aware of these concerns and we're doing our best to try and align costs and also keep the fees as low as we can. We do appreciate that, especially in the areas of flood control and fire. These are activities that absolutely have to occur. We don't want to be in the way, and we're trying to come up with a solution here in really challenging times. So appreciate your concern.
Thank you, Phil. And I also wanted to let you know, Michelle, that we may have a water quality certification specific stakeholder meeting before our next general June stakeholder meeting as well. That we could
Oh,
probably
okay.
get to, yes, participate in. Okay, thank you.
Oh,
All right,
a fi-
next. Oh,
I'm sorry, can I ask one more final question? Because you had a lot of good information on explaining, because I'm going to be reporting to management, explaining the, and I'm going to say BCP is a budget cost plan,
Budget change proposal.
budget change proposal. Okay. So you had Phil, the sheets with all the justifications. Where can I find that? Well,
On
the one
the
you're showing right now, actually.
on the Department of Finance website, dof.ca.gov. Just
dof.ca.
look for
Okay.
budget change proposals. It's right on the homepage.
They're all linked in the agenda.
on our agenda, you can click on the link that we provided. It will take you
Oh,
to each
okay.
BCP.
And I apologize. Oh, there we go. Now I can see who was asking the question. I couldn't see the name of the question. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Michelle Derry.
yeah. Let me see. I was in the last one of the other meetings last year.
I didn't catch your name. Oh, Michelle. Okay. Hi, Michelle.
Yeah.
I would
Hi.
like to maybe connect with you after this call if possible too, just to
I would
orient
like
you to
that.
some of the activities that we're doing and give you a little bit more to speak to your management about.
I would love that, Phil.
Let's connect. Cassandra, is there a way that we can connect with folks here? I guess I can put my email in the chat. Would that be
Yes.
okay? Cassandra, is that okay? Or how do we?
Or we can get Michelle's information if you want us to forward an email and we'll forward it to you, Phil.
Okay, that works too. Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we can connect, Michelle, and thank you very much.
Yeah, Phil, what is your email? Is it phil.crater
It's Philip with two L's.
Oh,
Philip
okay.
dot Crater, CRAD as in David, ER at waterboards, that's plural.ca.gov.
Boards.ca.gov.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your interest and for your input.
Thanks, Phil.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I believe next is Spencer.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Spencer Sachs on behalf of the California Association of Sanitation Agencies. I first just want to say thank you so much for hosting these stakeholder meetings. They're really helpful, and it's great to get this information and this FaceTime. And I think, Cassandra, you kind of addressed a bit of my question before. But with the addition of these BCPs and kind of going back to what Sharon was saying, it would be good information to know if it's available, what breakdowns for the respective programs you're thinking for each of these BCP costs. So if I know in previous years, for the June stakeholder meeting, you've put together the specific breakdowns of the individual program impacts. And I know that that typically comes in June because you're waiting to see how the, final fund shakes out throughout the year. Um, I know that we can't get the full amount of like what the fee increases would be until June because we are waiting for the rest of that data. But I do think it would be helpful if there was a way that we could get even a ballpark idea of what percentages for each program, each BCP would impact, just so that way we can kind of have that in mind going into the June meeting to be more anticipatory of what the potential increases would be for each of the respective programs. And so I hope I'm not asking for too much, but if there is any, before that June meeting, if there is any thought put for these individual cost drivers of where they might shake up, I think it would be helpful to kind of have that information.
To support Spencer, I will interject, and excuse me, you have DWQ specifically, and I don't know if Phil is aware of this, but 3 or 4 years ago, you provided the fee payers with complete and admirable breakdowns by program, by the number of PYs, by category level, It was extensive. It was probably 9 or 10 pages, and I still have it. I can send it, but it was very helpful. And it's the kind of transparency that the people who are paying the bills quite directly deserve. We did not get it last year, in spite of my request. I would respectfully, by June, so we have enough time to dissect it, request public information about exactly what we're paying for. Thank you.
Thank you, Spencer, for your comment, and Bob, for yours. And it is our intention, we are currently working on, we're just waiting for some final data to provide the document you just mentioned, Bob. And then we also can provide, it would be impact to each program, water quality program per BCP as it applies to the one that is program specific. Now, some of them are, it's spread to the entire waste discharge permit fund, but those that are program specific, we can provide that information.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to stop and check. Are there any emails? Questions?
There are no email questions.
Okay. And there are no other raised hands. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. I'm having some technical issues this morning. Okay. If not, we will move on to our next item. Which is just had a few updates for. Okay. As I mentioned, there will be, we're currently working on the water quality certification that Bill mentioned also. So we anticipate there being a meeting in in April. Somewhere around April 22nd. And so please, if you are interested, to make sure that you sign up for the mailing list fee regulations, water quality, to receive that information. And the next item is the General National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permits, and this is regarding categories 1 and 2. Program is looking at some changes. So to properly clarify the language in section 2200B10 of the fee schedule regarding general NPDES permit category 1 and 2 discharge fees, and to ensure consistent and clear interpretation across the state, revised language is being proposed that more clearly defines the type of pollutants fall under each of the categories 1 and 2 based on their possible impacts to water quality. And it also encompasses all possible types of pollutants. So they're currently working on this proposal right now. And again, we anticipate to have more information and present more information in the June stakeholder meeting. And then also, it was not on the list, but just to note that the cannabis program is evaluating their current fees. And if their analysis deems any revisions are needed, we anticipate presenting that information in the June stakeholder meeting as well. Are there any questions on the potential fee structure changes? Okay. I don't see any hands, no email questions. We'll go to item number 4, which is, Sharon Green.
Yes, hi. I did have a question that is kind of general because let me see where I saw this. Did you talk at all about the savings that are projected from the government efficiency reductions and vacancy savings and position elimination adjustment? It looks like that was in the table on the next page, and it looks like it's sort of offsetting a lot of the proposed BCP. Did did you already talk about that? If so, I think I missed it.
We just went over it in the cost driver. We didn't go in any detail, but like those are the results from the budget letter. I know last year they were in the budget, then they were out the budget, and now they're back in. And so as we probably advised, we will, make any adjustments. We anticipate more adjustments to the budget, but we're not sure what they will be. But this is what they are as of the January 10 budget. So yes, it did offset a lot of the increases, especially from the BCP.
Okay, and I guess, so it sounds like what you're saying is the board doesn't really have a way to know if these are permanent or they just can change every year depending, on the governor, on the administration's decisions and the legislature's decisions. Is that kind of accurate? So they're sort of projected as a 1 year, year by year thing. In other words, like, is it changing the baseline or is it just sort of like a swing that we're going to see going back and forth? Just kind of getting at the predictability aspect of this, because if they were not there, obviously it would be quite an increase, I think.
Correct. The vacancies is my understanding. If whenever they land on where they stand, they will be permanent.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Okay. Final number to date, so we're not able to say what the final impact will be. Okay. So we will go back to our agenda. I believe we're on item number 4, which is just an open discussion. Bob?
Hello again, Cassandra, and I apologize for interjecting prior without raising my hand. I do like decorum. I was trying to help. For open discussion, again, I understand this is well beyond staff control and advocating with the decision makers for a diverse and appropriate funding set, and I appreciate your patience. I'd like to briefly discuss with Phil, if he's still there, a water quality improvement fee possibility. He and I have been working on it. At least initially, it would be for everyone else's edification, similar to the Carl Moyer program for ag equipment. It would fund. I'm getting an echo, Cassandra. It would fund grants to local government and other districts to purchase innovative, cutting-edge water quality equipment, just like is done now with air equipment. I'm also working with the vice chair, Dee Dee Diadamo, who did a similar program when she was on the air board. Phil, can we move ahead with this? I know it's going to take 3 or 4 years to establish.
Hey,
There
Bob,
he
this
is.
is Phil Crater. I'm here. So I think just some important context that I just want to make clear. So I'm not getting out ahead of my management or my board is I have been asked, and I do want to support you having this discussion with the stakeholders. We're aware that the Carl Moyer model at the Air Board is a very interesting and innovative way to fund improvements. It does require a fee structure and fee authority and other things that the Water Board currently doesn't have, and that I'm not in a position to advocate for or ask for. And so I consider myself to be really like a technical support for you to make sure that you have the time to get in front of people
Okay.
to discuss the proposal, and that I can respond to questions that are specific to how the activity might affect the water boards. And I will answer all questions that I'm able to, but again, because this implicates legislative authority that we don't have and decisions from our board that haven't been made, I just can't get out ahead of our board. So please consider me as a resource to support the discussion, but I can't drive the discussion.
So then last interrogatory on this. My next step then will be to bring ideas to you for funding sources, and we can evaluate them in terms of practicability and legality. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we could work with our,
Good.
and Cassandra, with you here, I think that you could check me on this if I'm incorrect, but I think it would be fair for us to take your proposals, Bob, and we could certainly, give you some feedback on them. But again, we can't drive this thing because this
Oh, no,
requires authorities that we don't have.
I understand your consultation is invaluable, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for, trying to drive some innovation here. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Thanks, Phil, for that. We do have an email, so before I get to you, Noel, we're gonna do the email question.
This question is from Debbie Mackey from the Central Valley Clean Water Association. Similar to Sharon's questions, if surpluses were not available, what would the increase be to permitting?
And I think kind of going back to Spencer's request, I'm going to prepare the data that the impact that the BC is as is right now to each specific program and make that available. We will post it and provide it to the stakeholders. But I do not know offhand the answer. Okay. So thank you for the question. Noel.
Thanks, Cassandra. And I think I forgot to introduce myself last time. Noelle Kramers with Wine Institute. In just thinking about this and how we deal with the BCPs that we see every single year and the cost drivers that we see every single year. And back early in the Brown administration, when we were in a similar budget challenging environment, and the California Department of Food and Agriculture was faced with being asked to make significant cuts by the administration. And CDFA brought stakeholders together and talked through priorities and opportunities for efficiencies to help make the decisions as to where they were going to cut. I mean, everyone understood the unfortunate situation that we were in. And I wonder if there's an opportunity here to bring stakeholders together to talk about potential efficiencies. I mean, in reading the Sackett BCP, it seems like there could be changes that would be made that would reduce the need for a full 12 PYs. And I don't have the expertise in some of the other areas to know if there would be similar opportunities in those. And just generally looking at large programs. I mean, Bob's brought up on numerous occasions about the Irrigated Lands Regulatory Program, and as we're seeing the number of irrigated acres decline, fewer and fewer producers are being asked to pay for the same or more activities. And if there's an opportunity to kind of look at, okay, how do we right size the program? And so it seems like we might be ready to have some of those conversations, and just want to put that out there about the opportunity to potentially bring stakeholders together to have those conversations around efficiencies and kind of right sizing some of the programs. So not much of a question, more just sharing past experience and looking for kind of future discussions on that front.
Thank you, Noel, for your comment. Michelle?
Thank you, Cassandra and Phil. And I like Noel's suggestion very much about streamlining. And we're constantly trying to find efficiencies because we're always having to do more with less, especially in the recent years. I just wanted to reiterate, I know, Phil, we're going to be talking later, but it is really important that we consider a separate fee structure for maintenance for public safety, especially with climate change. I was just at a meeting, it was FEMA meeting, that just talked about this very issue about climate change, that the storms are very severe, and the 50-year storm events of today, maybe they're almost like 100-year storm events. There's a change and a shift in much more severe destructive storms with maybe perhaps less rainfall overall over time, but the storm events themselves are very severe. We are asking for a separate fee structure, and also consider the fact that some counties are like, for instance, our county is 16% below the median income, okay, from the nation, right? 16% less than the national median income. And I must stress that there's an environmental justice component to all of this. We have to be able to protect our residents. We have to be able to maintain, and we have the right to develop. And I just ask that the Water Board consider that in their fee structure moving forward. Thank you.
Cassandra, I'm sorry, I have my hand up. I don't mean to jump the line, but I have a 10 o'clock meeting with another agency that I absolutely have to go to. And so I do need to step out of this. I just wanted to say I really appreciate hearing from everybody and look forward to some great discussions. And I will check in with you, Cassandra, after the meeting to see if I've missed any critical discussion. So thank you all, and I hope you have a really nice day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I was just going to say, Michelle, that question would be again for the water quality certification specific stakeholder meeting.
The one that in June, right? Well, there's an April. I think you mentioned April, and then there's a June meeting that's been identified.
The June meeting is the general stakeholder meeting. Like this one, we have one in March and June. And
got it.
End of July, beginning of August. The April is the water quality certification specific stakeholder meeting.
Got it.
And that's the one where you can raise your questions specific to water quality certification.
I appreciate you clarifying. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, I'm just checking to see, are there any other email questions? And I don't see any hands raised at this time. So we'll move to the next item, which is our next step, which is June 12th is our next general fees stakeholder meeting. And like I said, we anticipate after the May revised budget comes out and we have more data that we will be able to present our traditional fund conditions that we do that will give more context to what's going on in the waste discharge permit fund. So are there any other comments or questions regarding the water quality fees? Regarding the cost driver that we saw today? Okay. At this point, we're gonna make a transition. So. Okay, so I'm going to close out this portion of the meeting of the general fees stakeholder meeting. So as John Russell always states, please don't hesitate to reach out to one of us, myself, David Ceccarelli, Tracy Lott, she can also help you, and John Russell himself if you need any additional information. Thank you again for taking the time to meet with us today, and we're looking forward to seeing you at our June stakeholder meeting. At this point, I'm going to adjourn the general fee stakeholder portion of the meeting. And now we're going to transition into the special open discussion, which is a water quality stakeholder-led discussion. And I will turn it over to you, Bob.
It looks like we temporarily lost Bob.
Yes, that's okay. So give us a couple minutes until we can see if we can get Bob back on. Okay, we're trying to reach out to Bob now. So just thank you for your patience. We're still having difficulties reaching Bob. I'm gonna give it to 10:15, just since we're all gathered here and still have the time. And if by that time we are not able to get them back on the line, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you for your patience.
I see we have a hand up from Michelle.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to find the chat. I can't find it in Zoom, but I have to run. And I just want to say thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, 10:15. We were unsuccessful in being able to
It
get
looks like
Bob
we
back on
got
the line.
Bob back actually just now.
Okay. There you, okay. Bob, I will hand it over to you.
If you can hear us, Bob, you're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear. I just joined, so I didn't hear anything you said. I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry. We
That's okay.
were handing you for the water quality stakeholder led discussion.
Oh, I thought that's what we've been having. I'm
No,
sorry.
you were the
I had a client emergency that was unavoidable. I apologize for departing
okay.
and returning, but we're all handled. My discussion with Phil on water quality improvement fund, our earlier discussion on proper diverse funding to pay for the WDPF programs were my two topics. I think we've covered those adequately, I would hope. Cassandra, as you've indicated, that at the June meeting, we'll have proper information to be able to discuss things in productive detail by the, I think it's the 8 or 9 programs. I think we usually exclude cannabis because that's kind of a world of its own. And come to some well, it's too soon now because we don't have the program budgets, but come to some conclusions about how we cooperate and address what staff can do, which is what Phil's been talking about, is efficiencies. And then also what Noel and some of the others were talking about in terms of contributing the organizational expertise to come up with ideas to collaborate to more effectively and efficiently address the concerns, if that all makes sense.
Yes, it does. So I think at this time, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, Bob, for your comments and input. And like I said, we look forward to seeing you all in June and having an even more robust conversation and, more detailed information. So thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a good
Cassandra.
day. Thank you.